Hey guys, my name is Emily, and today we're doing a deep stretch yin yoga practice. So this is perfect if you have sore legs, maybe this is your rest day from the gym and you feel like you need a really good stretch. If you have some blocks, you can grab a couple blocks. If not, maybe a big book or a couple pillows. That will really help during this sequence. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss my weekly videos. Okay, we're gonna start in a child's pose. So you can take your knees as wide as is comfortable. Bring your big toes together and then begin to sink down into your hips. You can walk your hands forward and then maybe rest your forehead on the mat. If this isn't comfortable, it might help to bring your forehead to your block or your pillow. Just begin to soften your muscles. And start to tune into your breath. So don't worry about changing your breath, just noticing it. Throughout all of these poses, we want to find a place of stillness whenever possible. We're going to slowly press up. We're going to come into a pigeon pose. So from here, you're going to bring your right knee towards the outside, towards the right edge of the mat. Then begin to walk your left leg back. Your right shin is on an angle. So your left foot is just in front of your left hip. And then just take a moment here. So you can come up on the fingertips. This might be a very intense stretch. If you like, you can bring a block underneath your right glute, or even a pillow is really great here. You just want to make sure your hips are even, so one hip is not coming up and you're not leaning to one side. So wherever is the most comfortable spot for you, you're going to begin to surrender into this pose. So just observing the sensations that you feel around your right hip, your left hip flexor. This might be a really intense stretch, and that's okay. So if it's possible, maybe closing the eyes. Maybe beginning to deepen your breath. So if over time you feel like you're able to melt into this pose a little deeper, you can begin to walk your hands forward, maybe coming onto the forearms. But if that's not available for you, you can just stay upright. You can always place a block underneath your head just to offer you some support. We're going to slowly begin to make our way out of the pose. So So you want to move very, very slowly. So beginning to walk your hands back, curl the back toes under, and coming back to a tabletop position. Maybe taking a moment to sway your hips side to side. Or maybe just coming back to a child's pose, maybe keeping your knees together this time. Resting your forehead on the mat, and you can wrap your hands down by your feet. Take a few breaths here, letting your body completely relax. Noticing the differences between each hip. We're going to begin to transition to pigeon on the other side. So bringing your left knee to the left edge of your mat, walking that right leg back, and then resting your hands on the mat in front of you. Letting your hips become square, so one hip is not in front of the other. Tuning into your breath, maybe closing your eyes. So you don't want to come right into this stretch very deeply right away. You want to just come to the space where you're feeling the stretch, but it's not the deepest you can go. So since there might be a lot of stress on your hips, that stress might transfer into other areas of the body. So you might find that you're clenching your jaw or making fists with your hands. Seeing if you can soften those areas as well. Scanning the body again, noticing where the tension is. And allow yourself to let it go. Slowly begin to make your way out of this posture. So walking your hands back, curling the right toes under, and then slowly bringing your knees back together. Come back again to our restorative child's pose, resting your forehead on the mat.
Relax the shoulders, let your arms be heavy.
Now we'll make our way to a seated position. We're coming into butterfly. So bringing the soles of the feet together, let your knees fall out to either side. You have a choice here. You can keep your feet closer to you. That's going to get more into the hips and the inner groin. Or if you want to walk your feet farther out, we'll get more into the hamstrings and the lower back. So it's completely up to you. If this pose is very challenging, it can help to bring your hands behind your back to give you some support. But if you feel okay, you can begin to walk your hands forward. So just finding that spot where you begin to feel the stretch and relaxing into it. Maybe you can completely drop your head. But if it doesn't feel good for your neck, then just stay upright. Noticing how your legs and hips are feeling and honoring your body here. So maybe surrendering and deepening the pose, or maybe you need to back it off. Just doing whatever works for you here. Finding a spot that you can relax into and breathe deeply. Going to slowly come back up. Bring your hands behind your back. Bring the soles of the feet to the mat. And then we're going to windshield wiper the knees side to side. So let them fall over to one side and then the other. Just do that a couple of times to loosen up the hips. And then we're going to come into a wide-legged forward fold. So bringing your legs out wide, as wide as is comfortable. Might help here to sit up on your block or a pillow if you're really tight in your legs. And maybe start off with your hands behind your back, just as we did before. Or if you feel okay, hands can come forward. And draw your chest forward until you can feel a stretch in the backs of the legs.
Beginning to relax your forehead, your cheeks, your jaw, relaxing your neck and your shoulders, softening your belly, releasing through the hips, inner legs, and hamstrings. Using whatever props you need to help you feel supported in this pose. Maybe something under your head or under your arms. Being compassionate towards yourself today. So if you're having a really hard time in these poses, know that that's okay. It's a really difficult practice. We're not used to staying still during difficult times. But the more we practice this, the easier it gets. And we'll begin to come out of it. Place any props off to the side and use your arms to help guide your legs together. Just take a moment to curl up in a little ball, maybe resting your forehead on your knees. And then we're going to make our way onto our backs. Drawing your knees in towards your chest. Take a moment here to lengthen the spine, draw your tailbone down towards the mat, and relax the shoulders. Then you're going to bring the soles of your feet down to the mat. Lift your hips up and bring them over to the right edge of your mat. And then take your feet off the mat and let your knees fall over to the left side. So coming into a gentle twist here. If you would like to place a couple pillows underneath your left leg, that can help give you some support and maybe make this pose feel a bit better for you. Just relaxing your shoulders into the mat. Feeling a gentle twist in the spine. And just stretch along your right glute. And a stretch in your outer right hip. And then we'll slowly bring our knees back to center. Let your hips come back to the middle as well. And then you can bring your feet mat width apart and let your knees knock in together. So just resting here in a neutral position for a couple breaths. Begin to separate the knees. Send your hips to the left edge of your mat. Raise your feet up, and then let your knees fall over to the right. So readjusting your legs as you need to make this pose more comfortable. Really let your arms be heavy. Come back to your breath. And bringing both knees back to center. Realign your hips. And then we'll slowly come into our final Savasana, extending the legs long. Palms face up, shoulder blades roll underneath you. Letting go of the practice. Just allow your breath to return to normal. Feel free to stay here for as long as you like. Thanks for joining me today. Namaste.